That's what you call a fan. We want the show. We want the show. We want the show. Thank you, Nelson. Your support, brother, for our little channel, along with everybody else, is always appreciated. And when someone says, we want the show, my gosh. What do you reckon, Brad? We want the show.
Well, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Always good to get cheered. Always good.
So why are we here? We're holding hands. We're empathizing. We're sympathizing. We're talking guitars and gear, and we're hanging out with the rock professor who's in exile.
Exile on a side street near you.
Yeah. Simon needed some company. He's been locked in a cage for too long.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's half boring. Nobody comes to visit you. The leper at the top of the house, nobody comes to visit you. Ding, ding, unclean.
Well, actually, guys, what Simon's doing is Simon's doing an insight role of, because he's going to do this project for us on the Exile on Main Street, so that we've got a planned show later on in the year. So what Simon's decided to do is he'll actually literally being the field ethnographer that he is from his old university geography days, living the dream in exile.
That's it. This is our new show. We're going to take literally album titles and live them. Literally. Take a literal album title and literally live it for a week.
Biggest banquet, that's me.
Let it bleed. So you got to bleed for a whole week.
I'll just stick with I'm black and blue, mate. I'm black and blue.
Yeah. Oh, you see, that's too far, Brad. Way too far.
I actually think Dirty Deeds might be more.
Done dirt cheap. That'll be
Dirty Deeds, you reckon? Yeah. All right, I'll take that. More like an appetite for destruction, Andrew.
Okay, all right. 3 minutes 20 in the show, and we're in the gutter already.
Yes.
Oh my lord. Look, guys, it's always a pleasure to see you guys. This is an impromptu show. As you guys might remember, a couple of times last year during this holiday period, we did a couple of quick ones together. We've got another show that we've got the four of us. We're going to have hosts here on the 2nd of January. We'll talk a little bit more about that. That's going to be an interesting show for the channel. But yeah, we thought we'd get together, and the rock professor's going to probably, might be a good opportunity for him to introduce what we're going to be talking about if people haven't really picked up the title from the show card.
It's my chances if I've got it right. Or I'm taking the wrong stick and I'm laying it down the road with it. Well, so Mr. Walton asked us to provide him with a list of our five guitars, and with a historical perspective on where they were played, how they were played, why they were played, or whatever. So we'll each be going through 5 of our guitars and the artists clearly that they're associated with and why they're special to us, whatever that context is.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think that might be a good little show, and we can come back and revisit that, like Brad was saying a little bit earlier. This is his favourite list for now, but one of the things, though, that we have to remind each other is that we don't contradict ourselves because our lists change. It's it's a fluid thing, isn't it, guys? You know, it's what you're listening to at the time. And I think I mentioned that to you guys a little bit on one other show that we did. I've gone back and listened to some of the albums that we've ranked because of some of the things that you guys have said. So I'm going back listening to these albums again with different ears. So yeah.
Cheers, yeah.
Good fun, that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll do the same. If it's okay, guys, I'm on a bit of a roll call. Say hello to a few people.
Yep.
All right, so we've got Crappy Luxury. Thanks for joining us, Crappy. We've got Nelson in the chat there. Mark Tanner, my mother Ellen, who's a few rooms away actually. Tim Thomas, I've got Tim in there. We've got John ZD351. He's a troublemaker. He's part of the Rat Bag team. Keith Campbell. We've got Arvin. We've got who else? We've got Tim Thomas. I think I've lost my some ratbag who's spreading things in his house there called Simon. Simon spreading things. Some other dude called Brad Cook. Yeah, you don't want to worry about
super
him.
spreader.
Yeah. I think I've got everyone, guys, in the chat. I'm just going back. So, yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone.
And
No, appreciate it.
We'd like to say shout out to Warren. Warren, mate, hope you're all right. Good news. We've heard from him. He posted a comment on our show last week, which is really good because I haven't seen anything from him for quite a while myself. So it was fantastic to see a comment from him. So Warren, if you're watching, hope you're doing good, mate. Hope you're all right. Happy Christmas.
Yeah, Merry
hopefully
Christmas.
See you soon back in the chat or more.
Yeah. And I was nice surprised to see those comments come through. It's always pleasing to hear from him. So he'll be back, I'm sure. He's got to be back. We want him back. Okay, guys. So the Rock Professor is going to go first. So do you want me to throw up your file, your picks, Rock Professor? Give me a second.
I've got my picks in front of me. See which one comes. I don't know which order you're going to put them up in, so it doesn't matter. I will do them in the order that you put the picture up in.
Hold on. Where are we? We're going to go there. I'm going to go to screen share. There it is. And we go over here to. Hold on, Simon. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, no, that's not going to do it.
I'm being barracked by John. Get a move on it.
This one here, this is okay. I might have to come back because this one here is formatted a little bit differently. So let me just go through and just check to see if these formats are all okay first. Hold on.
They're not all what I sent you them in JPEGs or something.
Yeah, there's just one. These ones here.
Which ones?
There's just one. There's just one. But I'll show that at the later stage. Okay, so hold on, mate. We'll go over here. And we are there. Share it. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Is that cool?
What is that? So that will be. I did a couple of things. As people on this show will know, that is a picture of Jimmy Page's #1 Les Paul. It's Les Paul Standard. That it's a 1959 Les Paul, also known as the Holy Grail, which he got from Joe Walsh from the Eagles, and he's played it consistently ever since getting it. He's done some fairly strange modifications, like he shaved the neck down quite a lot, apparently, and so that it would feel good in his hands. And he also changed swapped out. You'll be amazed if he swapped out the original Clouson tuners with gold-plated Grovers, and he also modified the electronics. As I'm sure you're all aware, he changed the pickups a lot, and he had a T-top humbucker in it. He had some Seth Lovers in it. He had some Seymour Duncan pickups. all sorts of things. He also had the original knobs replaced with push-pull knobs, which enable him to reverse the phasing of the pickups. Nobody quite knows what year it is because they shaved the neck. They shaved off the serial number. But it's a 5960, I think. It's and he's loved it. My connection to this is that one of my best ever concerts was seeing Led Zeppelin in 1975 at Earl's Court, as I banged on about here quite a lot. And clearly Jimmy Page, there's the number one and number two, which are number two pretty much had the same things done to it as number one, i.e. the neck got shaved and as the electronics got updated and things, because clearly you need more than one guitar. But yeah, I went to Earl's Court in 1975 to see them, and Jimmy was playing that guitar. So, and that's one of my greatest concerts that I've been to. So therefore, that's why I chose it as one of the guitars, one of my top 5 guitars. Again, quite a lot of these are personal history things. Have a personal link. So, I'll just remind you, if you'd forgotten that in 1975 to go and see Led Zeppelin would have cost you the princely sum of £1.50, £2, or £2.50. The shows, they did 3 shows originally at Earl's Court. They sold out in 2 hours. Now, these days, that doesn't sound very epic, but bearing in mind that we queued up overnight outside Virgin Records in Bristol in this kind of this underpass thing. It was in this little underground shopping bit. It was only 3 or 4 shops. I don't want to call it a mall. That's a bit much, but just 3 or 4 shops. And Virgin had this. This is 1975. Remember, they had a small shop, and we had to queue up outside, and then you went in turn and bought your tickets when you wanted. But yeah, overnight, and they sold out. So they put 2 more nights on to accommodate. So it's getting on for 85,000 people, I think, for those. As I say, sold out in seconds. But a fantastic concert. It was really good. Clearly, Led Zeppelin. 3 hours, no support. 40-minute drum solo. The lasers, Jimmy Page with the violin bow and the lasers going overhead. And stuff that purported to take up the power of a small town. But I don't think the rest of West London actually suffered that much from electrical disturbance. But yeah, amazing gig. Clearly Jimmy in his black, his dragon suit and all of that. Low slung Les Paul, everything you'd ever want. And Robert Plant and the mighty John Paul Jones and the mighty John Bonham on drums. So that's my first guitar. That's my first choice of guitars. I think that it's again, it has a link to me because I went there, and Led Zeppelin, one of my all-time favourite bands. I've got everything they ever did. I've hung out with John Paul Jones. It's got to be done, hasn't it? And as I say to people all the time, you can never have too much Led Zeppelin.
Never.
It's my favourite thing when a reissue of their albums comes out, and my wife looks at me as I get another version of Physical Graffiti, and I say to her, "You can never have too much Led Zeppelin. That's the law of the world. That's how it works. It's written in the laws." So anyway, that's my first pick. That's it's all about the man and the sound. Pretty much Les Paul into a Marshall, get on with it, or an Orange or whatever he had, those high watts or whatever. But that 412 thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, next one, Mr. Walton. There we are. This, as you will all know, is a picture of Woody Guthrie. Famously, Woody Guthrie, he had lots of guitars, by the way. I just chose one vaguely at random. He had, on his guitars, he had a sign that said, "This guitar kills fascists." Clearly stating his political preference and where he was on the political spectrum. And I mean, I think that that for me, one of my early, heroes of rock was Bob Dylan. He's still, for me, head and shoulders above anybody else in rock in terms, of where he took it, what he did with it, and his great hero was Woody Guthrie, and the Dust Bowl ballads and all the protest stuff that he wrote clearly influenced Dylan in his early career with his protest songs. So and that's his famous one of his acoustic guitars. I think he sometimes used to write his on acoustic guitars as well, whereas that's actually a sticker. But famous guitar with a famous slogan on it from the protest folk world from the 30s, and and as that's one of my things, I've got quite a lot of albums from the sort of Dylan acolytes like Phil Oakes, and in my collection, it's always been interested in that kind of 60s folk protest thing. So this is why I chose this. Great picture of him doing that. He used to.
Do you know what the guitar is? Is that a Gibson or?
It's a Gibson LOO.
Okay, so it's an orchestra model. So that's awesome. And they would have liked those models because they were just easier. Because if people aren't aware of what these guys were doing, they weren't driving around in first class vans or limousines. They were actually just driving with anybody, weren't they? So they were literally traveling with their guitar in their packs.
Yeah. Or a bit of string, over your shoulder kind of thing. So they had to be reasonably small, reasonably light, but also reasonably punchy sounds to get through. Because clearly, as you can tell there, no microphones, no PAs and stuff.
And he used to ride trains too. He was, they used to jump trains.
Train ride.
So
jump trains to get from one place to another, kind of thing. But
the
so
real
on that
deal.
sort of the hobo lifestyle.
Yeah.
The folk singer in the 1930s and 40s.
What's really interesting from my perspective of these guys, I take my hat off to them, is that they, and I know that Brad and Simon would appreciate this because they're musicians too, but these guys actually lived it. They were living what they were singing about, and that's one of the reasons why I certainly give them a lot of credit, because they weren't bullshitting, Simon.
No, that's right. No, sincerity is one of the key things, isn't it?
Dylan did it. How old was Dylan when he left home? 16.
No. Bob created, in the days when you could, Bob created a mythology for himself of the train riding, circus joining hobo. None of it was really true. He went to college for a year. No, he went to college for a year, and then he moved to New York and invented the hobo image for himself.
Okay. Because I know that Brian Jones there was some truth in what Brian Jones did too. Like he left. But. I'm not a Bob Dylan expert, but I was always told that he was one of the guys that lived that long lineage of American folk singers, of actually getting down and living with the audience. So if he did do that at college, I commend him for it.
He went to he didn't do that at college. He went to college, stole somebody's record collection and moved to New York.
got run out of town.
Yeah, got run out of town for being a rat bag. But so sadly, Dylan went to see Woody Guthrie in hospital when he had Huntington's disease, and was very long before he died. And clearly Dylan took all that early protest stuff, talking John Birch Society Blues or whatever they are. They all take their style from Woody Guthrie, and he performs some Woody Guthrie stuff. And he wrote a very long poem about Woody Guthrie as well. Fantastic spoken word piece. So I think Woody Guthrie, from my point of view, that's the lineage with into sort of my early days in that singer-songwriter thing. I always think of Woody as being a bit of the godfather of that, especially the protesting. So this next guitar, see if you can recognise it, is from. This is this is Bruce Springsteen's Telecaster. Well, vaguely Telecaster. It's actually a kind of mutt guitar. It's put together. It's got a Telecaster body and an Esquire neck, and he purchased it from a guy for $185. It's already worn in. So it's got a swamp ash body, maple neck, clearly black pickguard, and it's clearly his. And he's played it. He played it until 2004. It started to fall apart. Literally started to fall apart. It's heavily modified. It was originally owned by a record company and was part of the payola scams in the 60s. So it had whole areas hollowed out. It's really light, apparently. It has whole areas hollowed out underneath the pickguard, like the sort of the smugglers version, only not quite that. But it also was jury rigged with 4 pickups wired into extra jacks that would each plug into a separate channel on the recording console. I've never heard of this before. With the Fender modified this way, the session player could collect 4 times union scale for playing 4 slightly different versions of the same guitar solo. As ever, it's all about the money. As I said, a huge area under the black pickup was routed out to make room for those extra electronics, but which were removed by the guy who sold it to Springsteen. He's called Phil Patillo, and the missing wood had the unintended side effect of making an already lightweight guitar truly feather light, and thus perfectly suited for 3-hour marathon concerts. You got a guitar that weighs 4 pounds, it doesn't weigh anything, does it? It's a good idea.
Hold on, sorry, I thought you had another Telecaster one there. Hold on, I think you have. Let me just go quickly.
I only did 2, I think. I did one with him.
Sorry,
him playing it. That's right, and then one on its own. I found that's a picture of it on its own. It's basically. Over the years, Patillo modified the guitar quite extensively in his basement shop in Neptune, New Jersey. Who wants to live in Neptune, New Jersey? Sounds amazing, doesn't it? Adding his patented triangular precision frets. So I don't know what they are. Clearly, so I'll have a look at that. Changing out the pickups and waterproofing the guitar with stainless steel and titanium hardware and silicon gaskets for reliability in the sweat-soaked environment that is a Bruce Springsteen show. You could play underwater, Patillo said in 1984. God, how I don't know. See, you make all these changes, do all this stuff to it, and yet it still sounds like a Telecaster. It's amazing. I find that really weird. Like, what you put titanium hardware, silicon gaskets. I don't even know where you put a silicon gasket on that, but it just makes me smile. And basically, Springsteen played it on every show until around 2005, when it became clear the guitar was deteriorating so badly, it could no longer withstand the abuse of touring. And because of its provenance, clearly it's a seriously valuable instrument. So he kind of retired it. But Springsteen said, it's still unique amongst all my guitars, the way it sounds. For me, when I put it on, I don't feel like I have a guitar on. It's such an integral part of me. When I think a lot of guitar players would say that about their favourite guitars, just as a. But these days, clearly, he plays a lot of other stuff, instead of just that one. But one great story I found was that he was in the early 90s. It broke on tour in Germany, so his then guitar tech Mike Batlin hopped on a plane, couriered the guitar to Patillo's shop in the middle of the night, got it fixed, and flew it right back to Europe for the next show. That's fantastic. Apparently, he used to turn up all hours of the day and night and get it fixed and go back again. And now it's retired, and but he still uses it to record with. But it's not. He's got a lot of relics. Sort of modern ones that have been designed and built to his specification, so he doesn't need to take it out. But and as anyone watched his show for a bit, I think probably one of the greatest shows I've ever been to is Bruce Springsteen at Wembley Arena in 1981, 40 years ago this year. I talked about it earlier on the show. A 3 3/4 hour epic, 8 o'clock to 12:15. and a 15-minute break was like 4 hours. 12:15 on the piano playing Twist and Shout with the house lights up. Just epic.
Wow.
And I think that it was the one thing that struck me about that show. I mean, clearly the energy and the amount of songs, and having that amount of material, being able to cover that. Two things stick out. One was the stories, clearly rehearsed, worked out and written, but the stories that he did for The River, Independence Day, those songs, where he had these, beautifully crafted stories that he led into the songs. And also he did a cover of a Jimmy Cliff song called Trapped, and I'd never heard a band. So it starts off just him playing his guitar, just singing, and then for the chorus the band come in. Remember, he's got a 7-piece band, and they all come in bang like that, and at the end of the chorus it drops off like a cliff, just with him playing his guitar, picking his guitar. And I remember this day thinking, really? How'd you do that? How'd you get it to go from 7-piece band playing like crazy, giving it, to no echo, no, I don't know whether that bloke on the mixing desk kind of just went like that or what he did, just leaving Springsteen playing, just picking his guitar. It was just an amazing kind of, dynamic experience. Kind of, I don't know why it stuck out particularly, but it does particularly stick out. So it's the first time I ever saw him in 1981. So that particularly has particular personal resonance for me. That show. They released another night of it on. You can buy lots of Springsteen shows live. He's got a list sort of live. You can buy them all on CD. He released another night, not that night. Hopefully one day he'll release the night I went to, which would be great.
Awesome.
But it was a brilliant concert, and I loved every second of it.
We got someone new in the chat. Paulie, haven't seen Paulie in the chat. Sorry for interrupting, Simon, but Paulie's going to bed. Thank you, Paulie, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Paulie. How you doing? Hope you're good. Just going to bed. One. So that's my choice. Okay, my next choice clearly is Hank Marvin and his famous Fiesta Red Strat, the first one in the UK, bought for him by Cliff Richard, who decided decided that Hank needed a decent guitar. The reason I chose this is that this is the genesis of English rock and roll, I would say, in many ways. So many people, took their lead from Hank Marvin playing that Red Strat. It was iconic. I use that word lightly, but that image of him, playing that guitar, and doing what he could do on it was started off, literally thousands of guitar players, playing guitar in this country, even if they didn't play Strats. You ask anybody, one of their influences will be Hank, Marvin, and that guitar, that Fiesta Red Strat, and God love, everyone loves a Fiesta Red Strat, surely. So that Strat was made in 1959. It's a 59 one. It's and Cliff ordered it from America without ever seeing it. And that's why they bought it without ever seeing it until it arrived. There's a fantastic there's a fantastic description of them opening the case. It's like the Holy Grail. Just being awestruck by this amazing, gold-plated maple neck, shining, literally the Holy Grail. He's clearly had other British guitars, not very well made ones.
Yeah.
He describes having an Antoria which had a bent neck. So at the A was about half an inch off the thing. It was all right. It was all right. The cowboy chords. It was all right in the octave. So you just couldn't play it in the middle much.
Yep.
And of course, the other thing it had was the whammy bar. The tremolo arm, because
correct.
That was the thing that that he found he could hit a note, dip it down, hit it under the pitch, let it come up, giving it and making that, because they did instrumentals to Shadows, he wanted it to sound like the human voice, and that this was the guitar that you could make sound like a human voice because it had that whammy bar, and I think it's as I say, it's placing for me in UK, particularly rock and roll. I mean, clearly he got it from Buddy Holly in the Crickets. I could have chosen. I nearly chose Buddy Holly, as the first what I would call great Strat player, but I decided to go from a British angle and have this.
Good on you. I'm glad you did.
Guitar. Yeah.
Good on you.
Because
Beautiful
I
guitar.
think that what's amazing is they sent it out with 13 to 56 gauge strings on it. It turned up in 950, 62, whatever it is, with 13 to 56 gauge strings. And he had to take them off and put 10s on, kind of thing. But
can I just interrupt? That's one of the reasons why Eric Clapton was so friendly with a lot of guys, because he brought back 9s and he dished out a lot of 9s to George Harrison, because in the UK you couldn't get 9s. 11s or 12s were apparently the standard, Simon, for electric guitars back then. And so when he came back with 9s and dished them out, guys were going, "Holy cow!"
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But it's funny, I hadn't realised that Fender sent them out with such heavy strings in '59.
Strange, isn't
really
it?
Funny.
Yeah,
it's just really funny. Yeah. But so, as I say, for me, Hank is the godfather of of British rock and roll in that sense, and deserves his place in whatever pantheon of rock. And as I say, inspired so many players to play, all that generation of 60s players. Everybody, some part of them is inspired by Hank doing his thing. So hats off to Hank.
Imagine how much that guitar would be cost right now, Simon.
Oh, that Strat. Well, interestingly, it belongs to Cliff, right? It belongs to Cliff because he bought it, right? Hank doesn't have it. Bruce Welsh, the other guitar player, has it. And apparently they joke about the fact that Bruce is going to sell it for his not give it back to Cliff or Hank. So they have clearly a bit of fun about it. But yeah, currently in the possession of Bruce Welsh, but still technically Cliff Richard's guitar. So,
Awesome.
I think it's one of the things I say. It's difficult, you look back at Cliff now and kind of thing, and it's not. You don't realise what he did, him and the Shadows did in that, that late 50s period for English rock and roll. Move It, and it was such a great song, and all those Shadows hits, Wonderland and all, with that particular style, it was just unique, still unique. How many notes does Hank Marvin need to play before you know it's Hank Marvin? Well, at least one.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. So that's why I chose it anyway.
Beautiful.
Is that my 5? No, I've got one more.
Just hold on, bro.
Got one more.
Hold on.
Is it a difficult
Give me
one?
a second. I'm just
No
doing.
surprises here.
I've thrown a spanner in the works at Andrew. I only sent him 4 pictures, not 4 different guitars, not 5. So I think Andrew's. My apologies, Andrew.
A second, brother. All right. So what are we doing? Hold on.
I thought you showed it before, but it did come up before.
So you've done Les Paul. You've done the acoustic. You've done Bruce. Oh yeah. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on, mate.
I've got
Here we go.
The other Strat.
Yeah. Here we go. Where are we? We're over here. We are over here. There it is. So there's.
Keith, I'm just going to answer Keith Carroll. Hank Marvin had the first ever Strat in the UK. Nobody else had a Strat before Hank had it, and it's 1959. It's a thing from the unknown, the future. Amazing thing. So my final pick, surprise you no end, is Bob Dylan Strat that he played at the 1965 Newport Folk Festival, the festival that he famously went electric at for the first time. He'd experimented a bit in the studio with it, and but this was the first time he got Paul Butterfield and various other musicians, Al Cooper, and they played 5 songs, played electric, at to a rumpus and a furor that you couldn't, for pre-internet days was quite something. And this is so I chose this album clearly because of its historical context of Dylan Goes Electric, and he took it on that. He didn't. There's a good story about this guitar, but I basically, he started off playing it, and then he'd do a world tour doing electric, doing the first half as acoustic and the second half as electric, and pretty much every gig that they did, the people booed the second half. I can't quite imagine having the fortitude to go on every single night knowing that people are just going to boo you. It's weird. They just boo you all the time. But they love the first half, just him on acoustic guitar, and doing Mr. Tambourine Man and all those amazing kind of bringing it all back home acoustic songs, Visions of Johanna, and then he'd come on and do the rock and roll set in the second half, and would just get booed, and would just keep doing it every night, keep going. And Brad, you're a performer, can you imagine what it was like if you went out every single night? Well, people were there for starters, but where you're going to get booed. I just think it's just weird,
That would be
beyond weird. To have the fortitude about being able to do it, including the classic Judas shout, at the Royal Albert Hall, but not the Manchester Free Trade Hall, where somebody shouts out Judas. Well, that's heavy, it's easy, I think, to look at it from a distance and kind of laugh, But somebody's calling you a Judas. Somebody's calling you a betrayer of a whole musical movement and a whole generation. That's heavy. To me, that is really heavy. It has clearly it's funny, but also, and that thing, his riposte, I don't believe you, you're a liar. And he turns around, he's play effing loud, and they go in like a Rolling Stone. To me, that makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. That kind of exchange is just because it's like confrontation in a way that I can't think of any other rock band, anybody that has that kind of confrontation. Maybe the Stones a bit, Monterey had a bit with the Hells Angels, but not in that, that real kind of confrontational way that he had to go through. So, so that's why I chose this Strat, not because it's anything particularly stunning about. It's a 64 Strat, standard 64 Strat, and it basically he after the show, that's a picture of the people who still have it. After the show, he got flown in a light aircraft by a guy called Victor Quinto, who used to fly the act to and from the festival, and when he disembarked from the plane, he left the Strat behind. So Quinto, this guy, spotted it, took it home and ensured it wasn't stolen, informed the management that he had the guitar, and they said, they send somebody to pick it up. Years passed, nobody came to retrieve the guitar, so Quinto stored it in his attic, where it remained for decades until his untimely death. And then his daughter, Dawn Peterson, who did sort of one of the girl in the picture here, with him, so rediscovered it, blew the dust off it, brought it over to her own home. Years later, a friend mentioned to her it could be the same guitar that her father mentioned Dylan left behind at the Newport Folk Festival. So that was a sort of thing that at one stage, Dylan's management finally got in touch after decades of not. His lawyers claimed that Dylan, in fact, still had the Strat from the day in his possession. This was actually another electric guitar he'd stolen. Hilarious. It's like, despite this dismissal from his legal team, the guitar they alleged to be the genuine one was never offered for examination to ratify the claims. Thus, for many people, they got a guy called Babiuk to cast it Ive, and he analysed every detail with all the known photographs and things, and he said he was 99% certain that was the Strat that Dylan played. even if Dylan didn't, Dylan's legal to stop that one. So so eventually it was sold for $965,000, practically $1 million. So and at the time, the most expensive guitar ever auctioned. So that's the story of Bob Dylan's Newport Strat. May or may not be. I love the idea that his legal team, no, he's still got it. So, I like that a lot. It's funny. So
Awesome.
Okay, so yes, that's my clearly Dylan is one of my musical heroes, which is why I bought it. I think it's like a crossover moment in both Dylan's history and in rock history. Going that electric, doing everything. That again sent shockwaves around. Everybody doing that sort of thing. So that's why I chose it for sort of weird kind of quite a lot of these are personal things. It's Crappy Luxury thinks my Springsteen was a peculiar choice for a list of only 5.
That was interesting. Interesting choice of 5 there, I think.
Yeah.
100%. Because there's a story behind it for you too, which is important.
Yeah. And as I said, there's I kind of kept it to, a personal connection as well, not just not just 5 iconics. There are other iconic as well. I can think of hundreds of. I'm sure we'll get to some of them, but they had a particularly personal connection to me, either in terms of the artist or in terms of the, seeing them or whatever. So that's why I chose them. So who's going next?
Okay, I'm just going to get some picks up for Brad, so just hold on for a second, guys.
We've got to guess what the 5th one is.
No, it's just give me a second. So where's Simon? Get rid of that. Put that over there.
Yes, get rid of Simon.
And share screen. All right, bro.
Thanks,
Here
Keith.
we go.
There should be 2 photos of each one, Andrew. I've sent through.
Okay.
So,
all right.
A very important one, and I think it resonates with the 5150 crew as well. This particular guitar, first time I ever saw it was when I watched Right Here, Right Now, and we all know it's the EVH Music Man by Ernie Ball, and it is just one of those guitars. I mean, I was shocked to see him playing a guitar like that. I remember watching a thing on MTV where he was discussing the guitar. He wanted the Telecaster vibe and a Les Paul vibe put together, and just a remarkable guitar. I know Andrew's got an Axis as well, like myself, and Andrew encouraged me to buy the one I got, and I have never regretted the day I bought it. So it actually encouraged me. For all those years ago, I wanted to buy one. I never did. I opted to buy a Les Paul at the time instead of that. I tried to get the same sort of top on this one. So that encouraged me to buy this.
Hold on, bro.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Hold on.
So that to me is an important guitar for me. And that'll be always an important guitar for me with Van Halen. Just I know everyone gravitates to the Stripe guitars, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, this is a really important guitar in Van Halen history. I love the album that this came out. Like, I love the Carnal Knowledge record. I love Balance. I love the era that he played these guitars. And for me, it's just it was a totally different sound for him. And it's such a beautiful guitar. I love looking at pictures of the guitar. I love watching Ed play it. I love, even just looking at it. It's a beautiful guitar. So that's my first choice. And that's like from Right Here, Right Now, I think, that picture. And that's the guitar. So obviously he worked hard with. Has anyone, Andrew? You've obviously read the Damasio from the Damasio website, how they went through and they went through and he went through the manufacturing process of the Music Man with the Damasio pickups and everything like that. That's really important. I think it's still on the Damasio website. So I'm not going to bore everyone with detail for detail on it. I just wanted to give my little personal, I guess a personal thing for me was the guitar and what it did for me when I watched him play that for the first time. It was just one of those things. I know you're fond of that guitar too, Andrew, aren't you?
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll put a card up, if you're watching the replay, over here. There'll be a card up here of a show that we did where we went through that article that Brad is making reference to. Dispelled a lot of myths, how the pickups were, just off the top of my memory, modeled on the damaged pickup on the 5150 as well. Yeah. So a lot of information there, but I'll put a card up for that show if anyone's interested.
Yeah, so that for me is my number one, like the first choice. These are in no particular order, by the way. I haven't got a favorite. It's just these top 5 for that I could think of today, and I really love that Music Man. I know, look, there's nothing wrong with the striped guitars. I love them as well, but when I think of Van Halen, I think of that guitar.
It's connection is everything, isn't it, Brad? Yeah.
What was that, sorry?
You have a personal connection to that guitar.
That's right. Yeah, that was the album that really, really pushed me into it. Now this one is,
surprise.
You can't go past this guitar, a 1968 Fender Strat, strung upside down, with arguably one of the greatest musicians, to ever grace the face of the planet. He was obviously, in my opinion, from another planet, and that performance of that guitar, watching him play Star Spangled Banner, watching him play, even the versions of like Isabella and things like that with that guitar, it's just. And I know he wasn't quite fond of that performance, but it's an iconic performance. It's an iconic guitar, and I love the look of it. I had to buy a Stratocaster with a bigger headstock, because that was, for me, that was what a Stratocaster at the time sort of was, a big headstock maple neck Strat, and that's what encouraged me to buy this guitar at the time. And the big headstock. So if I was a left-handed, that's how. So yeah, obviously, I've done some different things to personalise it and things like that. But I wanted the big headstock with the maple neck because of the Woodstock Strat, and for me, that's a really iconic piece of equipment there that we're looking at. That in particular, that guitar, just the look of it, it looks spanky. It looks like you could just serve dinner on the fretboard. It looks amazing. It's just it looks so. It makes you want to pick up a guitar that looks like that, in my opinion. I've always been fond of the white Stratocasters with maple necks, and that thing's just oozes sex. But I mean, the tones that Jimi Hendrix pulled out of that guitar at Woodstock with his little face, a wah pedal, and a Univibe, just unbelievable. If you haven't watched Univibe, if you haven't watched him play on Woodstock, you'll notice he uses the Univibe a lot more than I thought, because I watched it recently and I was like, wow, he's actually using the Univibe quite a bit. So that was a iconic guitar with an iconic guitarist
in an iconic situation.
Absolutely, very big influence to me. Jimi Hendrix is still, I haven't got a favorite, but Jimmy's probably one of my most influential guitar players, just because I love his rhythm playing. I love his songs so much. In the era that he came out, 67, 68, 69, when he was successful. In a 3-year period, he did what most musicians don't do in decades. So,
And you know what? He was a black dude that crossed over you know, the cultural divides in a difficult America as well. You know, so from that point of view as well, I rate the dude. People just loved him.
Yeah. I mean, look, for me, there's no better or worse, no greatest guitarist in the world. I'll never say that, but Hendrix is definitely up there for me. Now, this is crossing over a little bit. I have to talk about this particular guitar and this particular video. The song is the same.
Yeah.
Look, I bought my first guitar around the same time I was getting into this video cassette at the time. The song was the same. I bought a Fender Strat, a black one. It was a Japanese Fender Stratocaster. It wasn't a Squire. I put this DVD on and I wondered why I couldn't get this particular tone.
Yeah.
I had no idea why I couldn't get this particular tone out of a Strat. And I was like, why can't I get this sound? Why can't I get this sound? For me, this was a game changer for me watching this. I had to have a Les Paul. I wanted to get a dragon suit, and I wanted to look as cool as Jimmy Page and sound as good as him, you know. And arguably, you know, to me, not just a guitar player, but he was an amazing songwriter, an amazing producer. But for me, people can say what they like about him, you know, his playing was on the rails, ready to come off all the time and things like that. But that's what kind of makes him so unique to me. And his swagger on stage, the way he played, everyone who's anyone has drawn some influence from Jimmy Page at some point in their career. And if they say they haven't, they're lying. So for me, that was the coolest guitar for me ever, and it's still to this day probably is the coolest Les Paul, just because it's Jimmy Page's. Yeah, and the Madison Square Garden gig in Song Remains the Same is just. I've watched it 200 million times. My son.
We're going to rank that. We're going to rank that, aren't we, next year? Aren't we, guys?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
My son is a huge fan of Led Zeppelin, and that he watches Song Remains the Same. And I don't know if you guys remember when Zeppelin released that DVD set, was orange, and it was just called, I've forgotten, but it had some of the extra stuff from that.
Yeah.
So my son watches all those songs too, the Ocean and all those songs, and just that Les Paul thing. It's just
that's mandatory. Yeah.
Yes.
Get that. You got to get it.
So that's thanks for pulling that out, Simon. That's what I meant. Yeah, exactly that. So the footage from that. I mean, there's obviously other footage on there from different performances, but I had to pinpoint that particular guitar. It's like probably one of the most important guitars to me in history. Led Zeppelin would be probably, without a doubt, my favorite band, most influential band. You know, for me as an artist or whatever, that's just, you know, that was it for me, Jimmy Page. Now this one's very dear, you know, close to my heart. This gentleman, this Les Paul. In 1998, he did a performance at MTV Music Awards with his band Guns N' Roses, and he played a Les Paul copy, and I just absolutely love that guitar. It was like one of those guitars that I actually needed to have one. It was built with a luthier at the time. I think he used to work for Gibson, from my understanding. His name was Chris Derrig. Yep. And he just basically modeled it off a Les Paul. And for me, that particular look of the guitar, sort of like the amber look, not necessarily a full-on sunburst, a little bit more amber. And that particular guitar that you're showing there made me go and get this guitar. So that's...
Hold on, brother. Hold on. Sack me.
But, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lot of quilt flame. I tried to get the same quilt, and that's why I got this guitar. That particular guitar in that photo is why I got this. So I've done a few mods to this to personalize it, but in my Guns N' Roses tribute band called Appetite for Destruction, this is the main guitar I play.
That's the one.
And And it was based around me trying to get that same sort of thing as Slash. I was, 17, 18, and Slash was like my modern day Jimmy Page to me. He was like, I could hear Joe Perry, I could hear, I could hear Jimmy Page and he's playing. I could hear Joe Walsh. I could hear so many amazing players. And even like Paradise City, some of those runs, I could hear, him touching the Van Halen runs and things like that. So not necessarily with his tapping, but just his particular phrasing and runs. And but he's got a very unique style. But that guitar in particular was it was a game changer for me as well. And that's influenced me so much. It influenced me to get this guitar, basically.
Yeah,
it's ironic, isn't it, that Slash has sold so many Les Pauls on the back of not playing a Les Paul on the first Guns N' Roses album.
And I mean that's always been a bit of a funny thing for the guys at Gibson. They had to make a replica of a replica, so
yes,
it was a big. It was funny, but obviously the non-Appetite for Destruction version of Slash model guitars. They are just built like a Les Paul, so they're not trying to replicate the replica. If that makes sense.
I remember when the band.
What was that? Sorry, Andrew.
Yeah, I remember when the band broke and Slash playing the Les Paul was completely not in fashion. Everybody was playing Super Strats back then. And Stratocaster type guitars, and you had a lot of the Jackson guitars and a lot of these American guitar brands, the new boys on the block. And then Slash comes out on the videos and he's playing a Les Paul. Was like, wow, this is retro, but it was cool, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it kind of just in my opinion, and it's still probably to this day one of the greatest debut records ever, is Appetite for Destruction. And it's not necessarily just because there was just a certain attitude and swagger with that record, and Slash's playing on it is timeless to me. It's you go listen to it now, and it right up there for me is some of the greatest guitar playing. Just unreal. And that there, I've got another Les Paul. I pretty much modeled off that one, which is a bit more of a sunburst version. But for me, the Les Paul and Slash go hand in hand. And when you see him playing a Firebird or something different, it looks odd to me because you just expect to see Slash playing a Les Paul. Yeah, that's it. You can see on the tone knobs there, he changed them over to the 50 style tone knobs and tone and volume knobs. And that was his. That was on the replicas. He had two replicas built for him. The first one, obviously, he played all over Appetite for Destruction at the tail end of the recording session. And then he had another one, which is more of a burst look, built for him as well. And I believe he had another, like a third one built from a luthier before he started using Gibson ones. I think his other one was built by a guy named Peter Baronet or Peter Max Baronet or something. I may have that wrong, but I didn't really prepare all my history notes like you did, Simon. So please forgive me if I've got that wrong. So yeah, that's an
fantastic.
Important one.
Yeah.
That's a really important one for me.
Yeah.
Now this one goes without saying. Probably one of my most influential blues players. I love this guy. Just unbelievable. Just like an unbelievable powerhouse blues musician. That particular guitar is one Stevie Ray Vaughan nicknamed his first wife. It was his number one guitar. It was a bit of a Frankenstein, really. It had a 62 body and a 63 neck and 59 pickups in it. So he thought the guitar was a 59 model, but a closer inspection on it, they sort of did a big inspection on it, obviously later after he passed away, actually after 1990, and so obviously that was a sunburst, and it started off with a cream pick guard, and they changed it over to a black one, and he used to customize it by putting his initials on it. But he played that guitar right up until his very last gig in 1990. Unfortunately, changed over the tremolo, to a left-handed one. He favoured that because he could pull those. So that's pretty early in the piece. That's before it had a lot of wear on it. But he played that thing into the ground. You can see in the later photos of, towards 1990 and everything. Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
It's just funny, isn't it? Having just the one guitar, kind of, isn't it? Sure, he had backups, but that's really, if you went to see him, that's what he'd be playing. That's what he'd be doing.
Look, it's just that goes to a testament to, to an amazing musician that can just play one guitar and pull so many different things out of the one guitar. But he obviously had other guitars. He had one Billy Gibbons got custom made for him. He had different strats and everything. But you watched on my combo, he pretty much always goes back to that guitar. Much goes back to that guitar. So
playing slide there too.
Yeah. And he was a great slide player.
The other thing that amazes me is how many of the guitars that we talked about are kind of mongrel guitars, put together bits, and we know that Clapton did it, David Gilmour did it, with his black strat. They're all kind of different bits stuck together kind of thing, and not, so many of them not purist, a 58 Strat or whatever it is, not pure guitars. They're sort of, knocked together through bits.
Yeah. Look, that's my 5. And obviously tomorrow it might change, but that was my 5 for today.
What I really like about the 10 guitars and the performances we've picked, there's only been one crossover. I kind of knew, if I can be cheeky, I kind of knew that Simon would pick the Les Paul. I kind of knew that.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys. I'll just get this.
I also, if you notice, I had a Telly, a Strat, 2 Strats, a Les Paul. How many other bases do I need to cover? And an acoustic, yes.
To be honest with you, I didn't even think about that. Like, I probably should have picked one of all different styles of guitars, but they were very important guitars to me as a up and coming musician and getting on the guitar. And I knew Andrew was going to pick Clapton, so I stayed away from Clapton for a reason.
Me too.
Well, if we'd all picked the same guitar and we were going to talk about it, I wouldn't have had any problems. But I appreciate it, guys. Look, the first guitar I've picked, obviously, is Brownie, and the performance, especially that the Derek and the Dominoes band did on the famous Johnny Cash show, the only film footage we have of this band, and I never saw this for a long time. I only saw it through, again, one of the great things with YouTube and the internet about 2000, I think 2007 or 2008. Saw a lot of the stills, in a lot of the magazines and the books over the years, but to actually see Clapton play just through a Fender amp and a wah-wah, just blew me away, and it still does. If you guys haven't seen it, go and check it out. It's just wonderful. He's just and we've spoken about this before when we've done the Layla album, guys, haven't we? Where Clapton is just using his right hand very delicately, and then he chops it in, just to get that dynamic effect. He's not relying on an effect or effects to do it. He's doing it like a guitarist should be. Love it. Love the footage. I still go and watch that footage regularly. Love it. It's a shame they did 3 other songs or 4 other songs. It's a shame that they couldn't catch that on film. Oh,
yes. How annoying is that? Yes.
Oh, there's another. He was a little bit pissed off, apparently. He didn't like the British Union Jack thing. I know that Bobby Whitlock didn't like it too, because Bobby Whitlock said he's quite cheeky. He made it. He said his comment out loud. He said, "Hey, what's going on here? Why have you got the Union Jack here? Most of the band's Americans."
So it's always going to cause trouble in it. Flags.
So I've picked this Van Halen guitar. I wasn't sure what Brad would pick, but obviously I've picked the EVH 5150, and we've done a show here. We've done a couple of shows. So if you guys haven't seen any of those shows and you're watching a replay, I'll put a link to the latest the latest show we did, and I'll put a couple of links to the Live Without a Net show that we did, Brad and I, with a couple of other guys. You guys might find it interesting. But Brad, we've spoken about this for hours.
Yeah.
And Rock Professor, it's just something that was in my mind when I was a young guy. It was just something that caught my imagination. It was current. It wasn't like Brad, you mentioned before in your discussion about the Les Paul and Jimmy Page with the dragon suit. Yeah, we all got turned on by that, but that wasn't current. Do you understand what I mean, bro? It was something that happened in the past, but for me, and it was a little bit like you with the Music Man. It was like we were being part of this history being created.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
That's I love that one, the 5150. That was fantastic. Loved it.
Look at these pink pants too. Pink, just
Stop it.
just so cool. But who's going to make pink puff pants cool? Van Halen. Love it.
No one is making.
But in that particular time, he's very cool. He could have made anything look cool, Andrew.
One of the and I tried to find some specifically to the last concert that the Beatles did at Candlestick Park. The casinos. And unfortunately, guys, I wasn't prepared like Brad to show. I've got a casino and I've got a 5150, but next time I'll show them. But I love the casino. When I saw these pictures when I was a young boy, it was the casino that did it for me. And when George had one as well, I've got a soft spot for the Rickenbacker that John played, but cheapers, that casino. And then obviously Brad and Simon, we've seen it transform, haven't we? Where it got sanded and it takes pride in place during the Let It Be, Get Back film that's been on Disney. So love that guitar. Love it.
Unreal, isn't it? Unreal.
Just simple. Sorry, brother.
I've always wanted to get one, Andrew, and it's just been one of those guitars. But I would want it blonde, like without the burst. I just want it like how it ended up towards the end of its career before, how John had it in Let It Be and Get Back.
It's unlike any guitar you've got. Solid. Completely hollow. It's just light. It's lovely. It's just I love the guitar. But that Candlestick gig, they knew. They knew. The Beatles knew that was the last gig. Look at them. They're all taking photos and they're happy. They're relieved, Simon. They're walking off and they're going to go and make albums now. The chaos of being a touring band is behind them.
Yeah. That's a pity, but at the day and age that they were touring, there was no point gigging because no one could hear them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's John there taking some more photos.
Yeah. Who knows? One day I might end up with a casino myself. We'll see.
So this is the back of Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. And when I had a copy of the first copy I got wasn't mine. And we've spoken about this at length, guys, and people in the chat who are of a vintage will remember what we used to do back in the olden days. We used to get these albums and we used to sit there and we would study these albums, didn't we, Simon? We would go through and we would look at every frame, every detail. We would go through and we would look at every face here and we would try and guess, while the album was being played. It was fantastic. But for me, this pick here of Keith playing that ES335, for me, when I saw it on the film, Give Me Shelter, the Madison Square Gardens gig, just blew me away.
Yeah,
Love that guitar.
Yeah, I love them. Beautiful guitars. I've always wanted to get a black one, like a black double binding. Just always wanted one.
Yeah.
And there it is. There, he's still playing with it.
Still got it.
Beautiful gold hardware. Tarnished gold hardware.
Oh man, gosh, I wanted to have hair like this too, guys. So this is one of the great things about rock and roll, isn't it? It's the guitar is cool. The guy playing the guitar is cool. Brad said it before. It's about the dragon suit. It's about Keith Richards and that cool haircut. Simon said it earlier. It's about the sign on the acoustic guitar. It's these messages. It's these things that we get that we go, man.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Especially then, isn't it? When there's so little information. I think about the early 70s. That everything,
we had
all
nothing.
those little things get magnified, don't they? Those yeah. Is the world pre Wikipedia? But that thing about, as you say, Angie, that sticker, stickers on guitars take on tremendous meaning because that's the only information you've got. Therefore, everything becomes tremendously significant. Great.
So what I tried to do, guys, is I tried to get one of my favorite recordings is the Boston Tea Party by Fleetwood Mac in 1970, and it's just phenomenal recording. It's available on Spotify. Go and check it out. I look forward to ranking that track. We'll have to get Crappy Luxury in to join us on that, because I know that he wants to do that with us and all Shrine. But I think this was around the time when that was being recorded. It's a shame. It's a shame, guys, that we didn't have film footage of that particular gig. But there he is there with that 59.
Wonderful.
Danny Kerwin there.
Yeah.
There it is there. That's not a very good pick. Sorry.
Stunning guitar.
And we've done a couple of shows too, guys, haven't we, where this guitar has been highlighted. A few Gary Moore shows. We also did the tribute show, didn't we, where that was being highlighted. So I'll put up a couple of links to that show too, guys, if anyone's interested in the albums. Those were some of the best shows we did, rankings, guys, off the top of my memory too.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. And that guitar nearly ended up on my top 5 too, Andrew.
Yeah, mine too. Well, actually, I nearly went for Eric Clapton playing it, because I think him playing it on the Beano album is such a game-changing album and a game-changing sound, isn't it? But
well, what I'd like to do with you guys, because this has only been an hour and a quarter, but this is something that we can do on a semi-regular basis. Just pick 5 favorite guitars, put them up and relate them to a performance, and we can do a few more shows, because I know Brad's got a list of 50. I know that Simon's got a list of 75.
Yeah. No, I've got a mine can change almost daily. I'll just be honest with you. I'm not going to lie.
I already got a list of 5 because that's all you asked me to produce.
Yeah. But yeah, look, it's funny because we're talking about guitars of other people that inspired us, and I'm sure you guys can relate. When you actually get a guitar that you fall in love with, it becomes like nothing else really compares with it as well. So, like for some of my every guitar I've got, I've fallen in love with over and over again. It's just it's one of those things that we draw influence from our heroes, so to speak. I don't like to call them idols. I like to call them heroes. And then you get a guitar and then you become at one with a particular guitar. If you don't like it, you sell it and you move it on. That's just how it is. Yeah. Yeah.
I've got a good friend of mine who I do some business with. Anyway, his young son wanted a new guitar before Christmas. And I said to my mate, what does he want? He said he wants an Ibanez. And I said, are you going to buy one? And he said, well, it's a lot of money. And I said, well, he's a good player. Buy it for him. And he goes, he's trying to convince his son to buy something. And I said, don't make that mistake, you tight ass. I know you've got money. Buy him the Ibanez. Because I'm a guitar player, bro, and if you want your son to enjoy his guitar playing experience, which you clearly do, having the guitar that you dream of because Steve Vai's got it or plays it, or that's important.
Yeah,
exactly. And then they become one with the guitar a bit quicker. They love it. They pick it up all the time. Get them a guitar that they're not going to be happy with, then obviously, it's like the whole thing. I said I bought a Fender Stratocaster, a Japanese one, and I was trying to get a Led Zeppelin tone out of it, and I couldn't understand why.
It's not going to happen, bro.
Yeah. And then it made me so cranky. I put the guitar down. I stopped playing for a bit. But when I eventually got a Les Paul, because of Song Remains the Same, it was a game changer. I couldn't put the guitar down then, could I? I learned every Led Zeppelin riff I could get my hands on or my head around. And it became, like a holy grail for me, a Les Paul. And through the years, obviously, I've become a lot more attached to a Stratocaster because of my heroes as well. So Strats and Les Pauls, man, that's where it is for me.
Okay, well, while we're winding down the show, guys, if you want to have some record here of your 5 fave guitars, throw them up. Keith Campbell's got Frankie, Stevie Ray Vaughan's number 1, the Red Special, which is Brian May's masterpiece, built by him and his dad, the Les Paul Pulverizer, and also Buddy Holly's Strat. Yeah, so, mate, what a list.
Beautiful list.
Yeah, a couple of them. So crappy luxury put up Rory Gallagher's Strat, iconic Strat. Clapton the Fool SG, Roy Buchanan his Telly, Peter Green Les Paul.
Yeah.
BB King a Lucille. He's gone over the 5, but whatever. Albert King of the Flying V, Johnny Winter in the Firebird. Yeah. Crap, that's a great list.
Can I share something with you guys that I saw recently? I don't know. I don't know if I mentioned it with you guys here or if I mentioned it on Fruitcake Tony's show, but I was watching as you do, you waste time on the internet, and I was watching this Brian May program, and I was watching it, guys, because I don't know a lot about Brian May. Which is interesting. So, and he was talking about this guitar, and I knew that his dad built this guitar and blah, blah, blah. But one thing that he said, and that guitar is 40 years old, or probably might even, 40 years old, and I've had 2 refrets lately. That guitar's never been refretted.
That's unbelievable.
And he still plays it.
Brian Light Touch May, clearly.
Wow.
Well, I've had this since 1999, and the frets need doing on it. They're very bad. I still play it. I still record with it. It's my main recording Les Paul, just because it's like a glove. Yeah. It's the one. Yeah. But I've got another stage Les Paul I play a lot more now because it doesn't need a refret, and it feels so much better. But it's something about the tonality thing. So that must be where Brian May sits on that guitar, and nothing else compares to it.
Awesome. Hey, Deja Voodoo. Yeah, look, it kind of freaked me up, bro. It freaked me up that that guitar. And he said it like matter of factly, and the dude that was interviewing him said, "What? Rewind?"
Yeah. That's amazing, that, isn't it? Well, I think one of the things it says is how light touch he must play. You know, and if you think about it, Brian, I mean, it's the sound. You know, he doesn't feel like he's a heavy-handed player, does he? To me, he doesn't look. I mean, I don't know. You could tell, but it doesn't look like he's heavy, like he's grappling with it. You know, wrestling it to the ground. You know, it looks like it's very. You know, it's very kind of organised and very. Played without.
He's a very. He's got a lot of finesse and style, but I think he uses very light gauge strings too, from memory.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's one of these guys.
No, he's an eighter. He's another one of those. I was going to say weirdos that uses, guitar weirdos that they can get this monster tone out of cobwebs.
The thing is, the wonderful thing about using a lighter gauge string is for players that don't dig in like, say, Stevie Ray Vaughan used to.
That's my point.
They for some reason they get a different style of playing, which is a lot more finesse, and the bends, the vibratos, everything's got way more control. You know, there's a method to the madness. You know, Jimmy Page used to use light gauge strings too on Les Paul, and that was his thing. You know, as we know, Billy Gibbons just continually sort of goes very light gauge.
Yeah,
he gets a phenomenal tone. So,
but you know what freaked me? You know what freaked me out about Billy Gibbons? Was watching him on this DVD, and they've got because you know what they do now, they have really, really good close-ups of guitar players now, which is really, really good. You know, they're not doing that like Cream reunion concert stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the camera going in and out. You know, they're actually. but you're right, Brad. You can just see how he's just brushing the strings, man.
Yeah. No, they're you know, the way they play, there's a delicacy to their playing, but that comes out in the finesse of their playing too. So, but you know, Clapton's not a heavy gauge string user either, is he?
No, nines. He's a niner.
So
he's a niner.
You know, but you can tell with his vibrato when he does, you know, when he does those ones, that's not a heavy gauge string. You can tell just because of the way he controls with his front finger. Like as if that's a heavy gauge string, you're not going to have that control unless you're Stevie Ray Vaughan with hands this big. And you know, but towards the end of Stevie's career,
they're really big.
Stevie dropped gauge towards the end there too.
Awesome.
I think that's
hey guys, we had it. I think 20, 22, maybe 23 people at one stage watching us for an impromptu British Electric Blues show get together with the Rat Bags. Always a pleasure, guys, having you join us. We are going to be back in a couple of days' time with Hoss. We're going to be talking about something a little bit interesting, a little bit different for the channel. We're going to talk about 5 albums, 5 favorite albums, and we're going to go through those. The 3 of us here with Hoss. We're going to spend a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, pretty much a little bit about like what we did today. We're going to present the album and talk about it. We're not going to be going through all these albums track by track. We're just going to be talking about the album in the context of what it means for us and maybe something that we haven't picked up on the album, because I am privy to everybody's selections, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, you are going to be surprised by these 2 cats' selections, and certainly Hoss's. So it's going to be a show worth watching. We're going to blow you guys away.
But you're not going to be surprised.
You have no surprises from me.
I can almost predict what you've got, Andrew, without even knowing.
Yeah, well, I'm the safe friend.
Safe friend.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah, good one.
Oh, it's the only reason why you guys keep coming back.
Only because we know what we're
Andrew,
going to get,
your
mate, you know?
dependable friend.
Simon, can you do a shout out
I will do a
to
shout out
everybody
to
if
people
you,
yeah, in the
if
chat.
you've got the
So-
chat open?
I've got the key. So Keith, Deja Voodoo, John, Ellen. Thanks so much, guys, for joining. Crappy, of course. Crappy Luxury. Helen Winter. Nelson, of course. Nelson. Stay cool, Nelson. some good stuff in here from Nelson, I have to say. Brooks Reed as well. Thank you, Brooks, for joining. That's really cool to see you.
Thanks, Brooks.
Keith Campbell, of course. Keith, thank you, Keith. And Kenneth Kay as well. And as mentioned, Helen. Hopefully, is that an Arvin, of course, the mighty Arvin. Thanks, Arvin. Hope you had a good holidays. Paulie Walnuts. Thanks, Paulie, for dropping by. That's very cool of you to do that. That's probably about everybody. Mark Tanner, of course, Mark Tanner. How could I forget? Mark's been putting out some cool music. Very cool. His Christmas song, and then an electronic weird piece. So he's one end of the spectrum to the other. Amazing. Tim Thomas as well. So thanks so much all for joining. It's great to see you. Christine Taylor as well. Thank you. Yeah, still going, Christine. I'm good. So thanks all for joining. It's great to see you. Hope you're all good. Stay safe and well out there. It's hard, and we'll see you on Monday morning or whatever it is, Sunday morning, whenever. Anyway, then
I'll do a card. I'll do a card for it,
and then I'll know when it's coming.
All right.
Seriously.
My co-hosts, thank you very much, brothers. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Rock Professor.
Happy New Year, guys.
Peace.